welcome to the living room, 24th of January. So, a couple of things before we kick off. First things first, I would love to celebrate anything that's gone really well this week. Who wants to just share one thing, two things that you've done that you're just like, well done, me. I'm awesome. What's happened this week?
I'm happy to share. I have a new client who paid the money on Monday, so that's really cool.
That's cool.
And I've been busy publicising my webinar that I've got in a workshop, not a webinar, next Monday. And if you put in the effort to ask people to please, would you comment or share on this post on LinkedIn, they do. And then you start getting people coming who you didn't contact. So that's really cool. Like, oh, I didn't send you a message and you're commenting on my post.
Who are you? Nice. Brilliant. Oh, well done. Congrats. That's really massive win. Massive win as well. Signed client, paid money. So that's going against your revenue challenge goal.
It is.
Nice. How much was that for, Sorrel? Can you remind me?
This one this week was 260. She's got the Hungarian discount.
The Hungarian discount. That's a new one. I've not heard of that.
Well, salaries are much lower apparently in Hungary than they are here.
So did you change the price for her?
I did. I gave her a discount. Because I've had 3 sessions. I really enjoyed working with her.
Never heard a strategy that includes a Hungarian discount before.
I just made that up.
I know. I'm going to come back to this because it's actually a really good point. Congrats on your new client. I'm so pleased for you and her because she's going to get amazing results for you. Awesome. Anyone else want to share any other Hungarian discounts or other European international discounts?
I don't.
No, sorry.
Go ahead, Ruth. No, you go first.
Oh, sorry. I'm like location moving around my house for the next 5 minutes, but I have actually started a new mastermind, and it's literally full of like owners of freaking big law firms, accountancy firms, and just to have all of them say yes. And it turns out the reason they said yes is because I asked them, which is interesting for all of us. And one of them, the one who was very much like, oh, I'm not sure I want to be in a big room of women, has introduced her business best friend this week. And another client who I've been working with, to be fair, I was expecting him to take another like 6 months of coaching. And yeah, he has. So I'm going to have my highest revenue month ever.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's massive. I'm so happy for you. Do you mind sharing their number?
Yeah, so let me move to where my desk is because I did write it down. So I've currently got about 3.5 grand in, just short of 3.5 grand in. And I've got 2.5 grand in invoices, which should hit this month. So it'll get me up to 5,700.
Oh, good.
Which is my goal for the year is to be just under the VAT threshold in the UK, because I'm not ready to deal with all that shit, which I know you have thoughts on, Meg, but I'm just for like 20, that can be a 2025 issue.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm like, I'd be really pumped to have like consistent 6.5K months. And I feel like I'm pretty close to it, which is awesome because I had a couple of months last year.
That's huge.
Yeah, well, I had a couple of months last year where I was literally, I think my profit was £1,000, and I was like, what is going on here? So I am pumped.
And so to give some context, Ruth has been, you've been working on when did you launch your mastermind? Last year?
Yeah, I launched my first mastermind in January last year.
So you have been working, you've done a year of it, and then
this is the third one that I've launched, but literally it took 9 months to bring this group together. And it was somebody I met networking who was basically like, would you set up something like this for me and my business associates? And I was like, holy shit, you are the most scary person I've ever met. She's a good friend of mine now. And yeah, so, and it's happened. And it was awesome. And one of them booked in for one-to-one coaching as well. So I have since one-to-one coached the founder of a significant UK law firm. It's amazing. They're not massive. They're like 40 team, but
That's amazing.
yeah, they're dominating their sector.
Something I want to pick up on is because I know Ruth outside of this because we've known each other for a while, and we were talking about her sales process and the mastermind. And literally the feedback was, well, we did it because you asked us. And I was like, hang on, wait a second. Can we rewind here? Because because you've been like working and networking and building your community for a while, like for a good 3 to 4 years. And then you asked people specifically, directly with an invitation, correct? So they felt like handpicked and hand chosen.
They were handpicked
To show, yeah, that's a really important thing. So just knowing that the personal touch, feeling special, feeling invited, being asked, and being connected to, take that principle and apply it to everything that you're doing in other areas, because you can still apply that principle even if you don't know the person and you've not had coffee with them 7 times or know them super well, but even you can still build that connection on social media.
And I think what's quite interesting is that I've really built my brand on LinkedIn in the previous months. And so a couple of them, I'd never met them before, but because I was name dropping the one person who was influential. And then as people started saying yes, other people knew them and they're like, I want to be in that room. Yep. So it's that as it starts to come together and doing it within quite a small community, like quite a small business community, that people have heard each other. And actually, as you get bigger and bigger clients, it validates you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats. And welcome to your first live one. So
thanks.
nice.
I'm going to go camera off and just switch over the washing because this is my house admin day as well.
Go for it. Scott, did you want to share?
Sure. I have done a minor rebrand this week. I showed it to all of you guys. If you can see it, you see the new LinkedIn profile with the tagline.
Snazzy. I like it.
You're snazzy. But yes, the tagline is now unleash your genius on your terms, which, as we were discussing various iterations, right, the self-ownership really came into play. So this is what it means to be the CEO of your life. And I've also made a commitment, right, which is by the end of next month that I will have my mastermind group associated with this tagline up and running. So the term the ascent is going to move. It's no longer going to describe the one-on-one coaching practice. It's going to describe the group coaching practice. The one-on-one coaching practice, I will change the name, and that will be more of a premium offering, but that the group coaching offering will now be the signature offer when it comes down to it. And I will be working for the remainder of this 4 or 5 weeks to build that up.
Awesome. So cool. I love it. It looks really smart. Smart's the word. It's cool.
You said snazzy. I like snazzy.
Snazzy's better. Snazzy's better. Thank you. That's really this is what I love about this group. So you just do stuff. You just do things like this. It's really nice and it's really fun and it's really great to be kind of in a group like this because it's so fulfilling and fun for me as a coach. So I just want to give you all mad props for doing things. Essentially. Lakeisha, did you have a win that you wanted to share? I know we were talking on the last webinar, but
Yes, yeah. So two wins actually. One is that I did say I'll do an Instagram live every week this year, which I have been doing. I've done one yesterday. So no, I'm just proud of being like showing myself integrity and sticking to that. So that's been really nice, and it's been helpful in terms of adding, the connection, because I would message people who joined, and I feel like because we've been speaking over the weeks and they've been watching, it's just helped with having more connections with my followers on Instagram. And I am preparing for a online workshop next Tuesday. So it's been good just to see the attendance rate go up for that. So yeah, feeling ready for that.
Nice, well done. That's really good. And I think there is something so valuable in planning the thing, then doing the thing consistently, because it builds this self-reliance and self-trust that creates momentum. Seriously, when you're like, okay, Tuesday I'm going to do this, I'm going to do an Instagram live, then I'm going to do this, and you actually do it, it does something internally that's very powerful. I don't know quite what it is, but it's good stuff. So that's awesome. What date is your workshop next week?
Next Tuesday, so the 30th. That is
Okay.
7 p.m.
Okay, nice. Brilliant. Do you have like a plan of stuff for it? What kind of thing are you doing to drive signups?
So I've been sharing on stories, sharing on my Instagram live. I've been doing Instagram lives on particular topics, but tomorrow I'm actually just going to do a live to be like, hey, sign up. But also my mailing list as well, sending it out there, and LinkedIn.
Okay, nice. Cool. Good luck. What's your goal for attendees? Do you have a number that you're trying to get to?
Yeah, 15. I'm on 10
Oh, nice. Oh, you'll make
at the
5.
moment. So if I could wrap that up over the weekend, that would be great. Yeah, and then I'm launching my program. I want 2 extra signups. So yeah, it will be a pilot. So I'm happy with sort of 4 to 5 people. So I need about 3 maximum to be able to be like, okay, program is complete, ready to go, and then just start scaling from there.
Nice. And do you have your dates set now? Because I know
Yes, I know, I do now, because I mentioned to you. So I was sharing on Meg's event earlier that I had a sales call. It went really well. They said that they wanted to go on the program, but I hadn't had a set date for the days that we would meet. And I feel like that did impact the call. So yeah, it will be from Tuesday the 18th of February. So every other Tuesday.
And how long is it?
It's 4 months.
And how much are you charging?
£750.
Okay. Okay, cool. And what was your revenue goal for the challenge? Was 10,000 or was it 15? No, it was
I
20.
think the big number was like 20K.
It was
But in terms of like what would feel comfortable and achievable, sort of 3 to 5.
Okay. What do you want now? Do you mind sharing?
Now, well, I've overall not so in terms of revenue that I've made this month, probably we're looking at probably for 400 to 600. I need to do the maths, but they're more so from ongoing one-to-one clients. So the idea is that the program will help scale that revenue, but I've just been doing one-to-ones.
Okay, cool. So do the maths on how many offers you would need to sell to get to 20 by February. Like, let's stretch it out because we started late. Let's say February the 10th. When does your program start? The 18th?
Yes, so like after mid.
Okay. So when's the deadline for them to actually pay and start, would you say? What are you giving them as cutoff?
The deadline to pay to start. So noting it will be mid, I'm just looking at my calendar now. It'll be like sort of mid-Feb. I'm happy to either do a pay in full before or for everything to be paid sort of by the end of Feb, which means I'm sort of started with a little gap.
Okay. So if they need to sign up, let's say they need to pay by the 16th. Let's like give them all the way up until the 16th to pay, start on the 18th. How do you feel about making 20K?
So with that, that plan, it will be very far from 20K.
How many clients, I mean, how many people could you have in the program? Like, what's your limit? Have you thought about that?
Because this is the first one, this is almost like a pilot. I did want to keep it smaller, so sort of 4 to 5, but going forward around 10.
Okay, so 10 people at 750 is 7,500. Nice. When are you going to run it again, do you think?
I'm gonna launch again in May.
Okay, cool. And it's 4 months. And then, so thinking about, and sorry to pick on you, but we may as well coach on this. So if everyone else is okay, because this is helpful. Thinking about your 20K number and the actions and the activities that we talked about that would create the demand and the momentum for you to have 20K. Like, how many offers, or how much is your one-to-one? Do you have a one-to-one offer at the moment that you're also selling?
Yes, I do have it at the moment. I'm not actively selling for it because I'm really trying to just get people into the event, ideally, and then like launch the program. But I offer sort of a 4-month, 6-month package. So the 4-month is around 400 and the 6-month is around 600.
For one-to-one?
Yeah.
Okay, can you do me a favor and reprice those? Reason being,
Sure.
that's crazy money for one-to-one coaching, i.e. it's far too cheap.
Okay.
I mean, how many clients have you sold at 400, between 400 and 600 pounds for one-to-one before?
So it was lower to begin with, much
okay.
lower.
Yeah.
It was only, I think maybe from November-ish,
Okay.
that I've listed as that. So I've got 3 at the moment.
Okay, nice. And they're paying like 100 a month, is it? Pretty much? No.
So one is she's split the payment. So she's paid everything now, but we finish next month.
Okay.
Yeah, another one has paid monthly. Yeah, the 2 others are paid monthly.
Okay. And how much is it per month per client? Roughly.
So ideally, I like to split it into 2 payments. But those 2 others have said that they do want to have it monthly. So it has been around about the £100 mark monthly. But ideally, I would rather be paying for or just split it in 2.
Yeah. I mean, I also prefer paying in full or splitting in 2 for your cash flow and stuff. It can be easier. So how many sessions is it?
So it's between 4. So if they go for the 4-month, it's essentially just 1 a month.
Okay.
If it's the 6, then yes, 1 for 6 months, so 6 in total.
Okay. Okay, cool. So, all right. Nice. Okay. So now you've had 3, is it 3 people through it at that price?
At that price, yeah.
Okay.
Charging like 50, 60 pounds.
What is your gut reaction? I mean, you can keep the price. That's fine. It's not a bad price. It's a great price. I.e., they're getting a massive ton of value, which is great. And you only started in November, so I'm like, there is a grace period. But what's your, like, what results are you seeing from your current clients now?
So the results I'm seeing is sort of career development, business. So someone wanting to start a business, so clarity on that, building the foundation, and confidence. So one, just really wanted to work on their confidence. So seeing a bit of that as well.
Okay, nice. So what you could do is keep doing it at, maybe nudge it to 150 a month.
Okay.
For the next go around, because I think putting a nought on it will just make you kind of stress out, I think, potentially, and not be able to sell. So I would nudge it up to 150 or maybe 175 a month, and then just see how that goes, because you can sell it at whatever you choose to sell it at. It's just about the reverse engineering the value proposition, like we've been talking about. So I would just, my gut instinct is like your group is 750. And how long is the group program?
So it's fortnightly sessions, so 8 fortnightly sessions, so it'll be 4 months.
Okay, so why is your one-to-one cheaper than your group? That's my question.
Yeah, good question. I feel like because I started with one-to-one with kind of
Yeah.
just let's just go for a number.
Yeah.
So I've kind of now have a better understanding and sort of idea of price pointing. So yeah, no specific rationale.
That's fine. So I would just at least get it up to the same level. I would just do 750 for both.
Yeah.
You could do 750 for both, or maybe like 950 for one-on-one, 750 for group. Because again, the thought process that group is less valuable than one-to-one, I think is erroneous also, by the way.
Yeah.
Because Scott, I did see that it should be 5 times the price of your group offering. It can be. It depends your market, it depends your person. But when you're in the early stages of business, like I don't think it really matters, because some people love groups, some people love one-to-one. Like, I don't think the price needs to be the differentiator, if that makes sense. You can have it and be like, well, the group is 750, so the one-to-one is at least 1200. You could do that, but it's not necessary. If you haven't sold at that higher price point yet, I just wouldn't go too far down that road for either yet, if that makes sense. So try and
that does make sense.
And see how you feel with selling more one-to-ones.
Yeah.
And then see how the sales go for the group. And you might be very pleasantly surprised and be like, you've already got 3 people in at 750. So what's this telling you about your ability to sell?
Yeah.
Like, you could sell it at 750, you could sell it at 950 for the one-on-one.
Yeah. No, thank you. That's helpful. A lot to go through and action.
Thank you. Thank you for being a guinea pig and getting coached. It's really helpful.
Focus group of 1, me. I learned a lot from that conversation. So thank you.
Good. Oh, I'm really pleased.
Good.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing as well. And sharing numbers is really powerful because we're all at different stages of business, and everyone's got really different offers and very different markets and very different results. So it's really helpful just to get this input. So that's awesome. And Tim, you haven't shared a win. Have you finished your lunch?
I finished my lunch. I'm still plowing on through and building relationships.
Nice.
So no sales. However, I have been referred to people by other coaches, which is always great. That's good testimony. So busy working on those. It's I feel a little bit like, this was my description this morning, I feel a bit like Roger Bannister. Once I've
broken a 4-minute mile.
Once I've done it, then the floodgates are open, everybody's going to bloody come. It's what it feels like. Yeah,
absolutely. So tell me a bit more about, so this is really helpful because it's all of these thoughts about where you are now is what drives what you do now, basically.
Yep.
So what do you think is, if you had to pinpoint one thing that you want to work on that is your best guess of no sales, tell me what that 1 or 2 things that just pop into your head.
Qualified people in front of me to speak to.
Okay, so what is happening now?
This is where I'm primarily using LinkedIn. It's connecting, and after a couple of conversations on LinkedIn, it's then actually inviting them for a call. So that's...
Do you have a call?
Yeah, that's what I've started doing. So I started them last week. Tomorrow's there's a 3-step process to building the relationship. Instead of going in and doing the sale, last year it was connect and try and then do a sales call, either that one or the very next one. And it just didn't work. Okay. People smell it. They don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not that hard sell guy. I would rather have somebody see that I've got value to add for them. They've understood their need. and then say, like this chap who I've got my third call with him tomorrow, who yesterday said, Tim, I need you to help me.
Oh, nice.
What is your program?
Cool. So you like you've had a sales call, or it's the third call is like now we talk.
There's no sales call. So the first one is connection. The next one
Oh.
was helping him to discover what his problem was. And then at the end of that call yesterday, that's when he said, what's your program? I need your help. And I said, brilliant, love it. Set up a new time for Thursday. So that's when we're going to run through it. So it's now I'm on to those third stage calls. Sort of
Amazing.
that icky salesy thing of I'm over it. So it's built, yeah.
So
It
So
may
you're-
seem to take a little bit longer, but you're building that connection where then they actually want to speak to me.
yeah. So I'm going to take you on a little path here, if that's okay with you, just on something that I'm hearing. Is that okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So they're taking longer because you're taking longer.
Keep going.
So this is what I'm seeing. Because you don't want to be. So what's happened in the past was you had a strategy which was, hey, nice to meet you. Oh, do you have this thing? Do you want to jump on a call? It sounds like, do you want to have a call to talk about it? Let's have a call and let's do a sales conversation. Is that right? That was what was doing you were doing last year? Okay. Which didn't work very well because you didn't really like it. They didn't really like it. It didn't work. So fast forward to now, you're building, like you're doing all the right things. So this isn't to tear down anything that you're doing. It's just to point your brain to something you may not see, which is, of course, they want 3 calls because you want 3 calls.
Yeah, so yeah, carry on. Yes,
you
yes,
don't
and
wanna-
I agree with you, yes and no.
Okay, fair. So as you get better, so this is just a journey. It is a process. When I started doing sales calls, mine were like 2 hours long because I didn't know, I couldn't get the stuff out. Honestly, I couldn't ask the right questions, get the conversation to the place. So it took ages. I mean, literally 2 hours of people just telling me their life story and me being like, I don't know how to stop this. And then having a follow-up call, then maybe another follow-up call because I had no structure, which is fine because I had to learn somehow. But what are you scared to say on call 2 that is now happening on call 3?
No, it wasn't a matter of being scared. Now I get what Ruth's talking about there. It was scheduled a 30-minute call, and after 30 minutes, that's when he said,
oh, okay.
yeah. So no, it's a 30. I don't do the 2 hours thing. I schedule 30 minutes, and I do that purposefully to make sure that it's a succinct, precise time. And it's not an hour. I did those things, and he just gets too carried away. So no, it was 30 minutes. One tomorrow is an hour scheduled call.
Okay. Well, you've had 2 of these. So you had 30 minutes, then another 30 minutes, and then an hour, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't,
So what
yeah,
happened in the first 30 minutes? The first call.
that was just a connection. Find out who this guy is.
Perfect.
When this was, in fact, it was a network. It was a network call. It wasn't even, he wasn't even seen as a client of mine. This was just a connection. There was no, and during this discussion, he started to tell me a little bit more. And then I said, right, let's jump on a call. Let's go through it a bit deeper.
Nice.
So no, it wasn't a sales call, the very first one. That was just a, hi, I'd like to get to know you and your business a bit better. That was it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds perfect. But so just pop it in the pond, the thinking pond,
Yeah.
if you will, that you can shorten it as much as you like, or you can extend it as much as you like. But your strength of relationship building can be across both. Does that make sense? So like you can develop strong relationships with people, have an hour sales call and sign a client, or you can develop strong relationships with people, have 2 half-an-hour calls and then an hour call and then sign a client. It's more likely you'll do the signing of the client with just how you show up and your comfort level throughout regardless
it-
of the time?
Comfort level, I think, is a very good point as well. I think that's going to get easier as time goes on.
Yeah.
All my clients up until this point, okay, not all, it sounds like I had loads of them, but I have the clients that I had last year all came to me. They were all feed from free sessions. So I've never had a client through this process. So
Okay.
I feel that as my confidence builds, so my posture will improve on doing it this way. So yeah.
And I also have a question. If it was delivering you clients last year, why just not keep doing the same process?
I asked myself that as well. So I am. This is the focus of this specific strategy is high ticket one-on-one clients.
Okay.
The other is group breath work,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
which is low ticket group session.
It was a
So
different offer.
three different
completely.
income streams.
Yeah.
This specific one is for that high ticket. So I'm only looking for 4 of these. That's it.
Okay. Okay, nice. Okay. And how many sales calls do you want to have to guarantee 4 clients?
So if I'm doing 5 new connections, which is what I'm busy with, a new connection being where they now replied and on LinkedIn and I'm talking to them. That's a connection. 5 new a day. Of those, to get 2 on calls a day would be ideal.
Nice. And how many calls have you booked since we started the challenge in earlier this month?
Well, I only started doing this in the first week in January, so this is now, I'm in the 4th. That's why this week I'm in for the people who are sort of qualified. Now I'm in the 3rd calls with them, if that makes sense, this week and next week.
Oh, nice.
So I was only expecting to see results from this at the end of January. So
Yeah.
let's review that on the 31st.
Sounds good. And how many calls in total, get to know you sales calls, any calls? Like, do you have a ballpark figure of how many you've had?
So this week I've had, funny enough, 2 today, both, well, one cancelled and one postponed. So that's brilliant. I went for a swim instead. Then where we are, Wednesday. So last week I had 8, so it's about 10.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's
So
working.
good. That's a massive result. That's a
Yeah,
massive
no,
result.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I say Roger Bannister.
Roger Bannister. It's really good. And something that's really that I just want to focus on a little bit for that is, yes, there's a time lag. So when you're taking the actions and building momentum and setting the plan, which you did at the beginning of the year, or like, post-Christmas, and you keep the consistency of action, it's not a straight line, it's a compound curve.
Yeah.
So basically it's slow, and then it goes like that.
It's the
So,
airplane.
yeah. So
Yeah,
you
no,
can
100%.
see the first 4 weeks of this year, keep putting in the reps, putting in the 5 connections a day, having the chat, making the call, making the invite, getting better, just honing, it's that 1% improvement on you yesterday. I don't care about what anyone else is doing. We don't care about anyone else's numbers. It's just okay, this worked really well. I'm going to try this today. I'm coming at this again fresh today with what I know today. And I'm better than yesterday because I had this conversation. They said something. It made me think of something. It's like this, it's like constant evaluation, self-evaluation. It's bloody hard work and it's such a pain in the ass. But I promise you, it's worth every single ounce of effort that you put in, because in another 3 weeks, you're going to be sitting on some clients. You will have some clients.
Yes, that's fine. And also doing this, there's some interesting spin-off additions from it. For example, whereas I was getting about 3 to 5 new views of my profile a day, I'm up to over 30.
Yeah.
And then people who are following me, whereas before it would be, you'd get that request, because every time something happens, I get a bloody email. It's annoying, but it's also beneficial. It would be a couple of week. now I'm getting 3 or 4 people a day who are now following me. So there's these spin-off benefits from just following through this. And if that's only after now 3.5 weeks doing it, as you said, it's
Nice.
But
And
yeah.
as we talked about, the universe is just waiting on your delivery. It's out with Deliveroo or Uber. Universe Uber is coming. You
Yeah.
order the pizza. You don't just like stand on your doorstep going, oh, I hate pizza. It's not here. You just sit, you watch some TV, you chill. You know the pizza's going to arrive hot. You know the pizza's going to arrive. It's going to come.
I know. I know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm just going to have a look at the chats.
Yeah, Scott.
And so go ahead. Any questions on that? Any thoughts? Any insights?
Scott, I'm going to leave her hanging there. She's got really,
Okay.
she doesn't really want it, you know?
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how this works out for you.
Oh, what's this? If a girl comes up to you and asks, like, when, oh, sorry, I didn't see this. When can we go on a date? You tell her that later. Oh my God. It's like the ultimate lean back in selling. It's like, you just got to prove that you want it enough. I mean, you've got to like come when you're ready. I mean, it's one tactic. I was listening to something about selling the other day, and it was, what was it? Oh my God, it just made me laugh. It was really funny. Oh, it's gone out of my brain now, but it was essentially the same analogy. It's like, oh, this was it. Someone was doing a talk about using links on Instagram, like Linktree, you know, the thing where you have all your links and, you know, head to the link in the bio, blah, blah, blah. And he was saying, he was like, all of you are brilliant. All of you are amazing. You've got incredible offers. You're delivering so much value. And then you're like, maybe you'll drift to my link. And I was like, this is so true. This is what every single person does online marketing. It's like, yeah, there's a link. You might want to go check it out. Yeah, it's okay. It's cool. Just hang. It's like, no, they're not going to magically drift to your link. I promise you, they will not magically drift to your link. Ever, 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 never. I promise you, this doesn't happen. You have to be specific, direct, and shout it again and again and again. You have to be that person for your company. And if you can't do it, you have to hire someone who can. I promise you. As a founder, it may be deeply not your jam, which I completely understand, because you're a founder, you're not a sales rep. Usually, you've created a business and you didn't create the business thinking, I'm going to spend all day long selling. I imagine that was not your thing in your mind. You were like, I really love doing this thing. I love to deliver value. I love this service I provide, and I love my clients. You're not thinking, oh, I've got to now be a salesperson and be in people's faces. So I completely understand you. However, you have to get over it. And I say this with so much love and such a like kick up the butt, because people don't magically drift anywhere. They will not. I've proven this to myself this week by hosting a webinar, and despite telling my clients, who I love very dearly, how much promo time to give themselves, giving myself 2 days. Well, that was clever. That did not work at all. Honestly. And then I saw this thing about the guy saying, you're just drifting to the link. And I was like, yep, literally guilty as charged. I was hoping people would magically drift to my link. I did it 2 weeks ago and I was like, that'll do. And then I got busy and I didn't do anything. So just know, happens to the best of us. Don't allow yourself off the hook when you do stuff like this. And don't dress it up as being an integrity. It's not an integrity. It means you don't like it. You just have to suck it up. I'm really sorry. It's like, I can see your faces. You're like, because you have to sell, otherwise you don't have a business. And I really understand it and I really get it, because it's confronting. And it's really hard sometimes to stand up and like plant your feet and put your hand up in the air over and over again and tell people you're amazing, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're not doing it for someone else's company. You're doing it for you and a personal brand, which is harder, much, much harder. If you were selling I don't know, pizza, you'd probably be able to sell it brilliantly because you'd be like, oh, it's delicious. It's got gorgeous melted cheese all over it. It's hand stretched sourdough base. Like you'd be able to talk it up a storm, but because it's the stuff you are delivering it, there's a thing in you about the perception or the delivery, or there's just doubt, which is normal. Just have to set it aside for your company, for your customers. Because your customers really don't mind about this stuff. They just want the result. And something that I was coaching another client on a couple of weeks ago, I was like, why are you being so selfish? She got really cross. I was like, why are you sitting on your brilliance? Why are you being selfish? Why are you not posting stuff? You need to get over it. And we were, obviously we know each other, so it was said like that, but you can't sit on your brilliance for people who need your brilliance now, today. There's people all around you who literally need you today. Today, not in 6 months, not when they're quote unquote ready. No one's ever ready. That's not a thing. It's just a decision to be ready. So the only way you can make sure that they find you is by being there, being constant, being present, and reminding them over and over again and telling them to go to the link over and over again, because it's going to be great. And they need it, and you have what they need. So you can't be hiding away, because your clients will suffer as a result. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It's just a selfish, it's an egotistical thing because we're scared. And I really understand it. And this is not a judgment thing at all. I've done this, I do this still. I just get in my own way and I'm like, oh, I don't think that's good enough. I'm not going to post it. I'm going to go do something else. Don't allow yourself off the hook. I'll be here to not allow you off the hook. I know you're all too brilliant to do this to yourselves. So don't. Rant over. Any questions?
Just a little perspective.
I would say Mama Meg needs to come out more often. I'll put it that way.
What was that? Like the bear?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can imagine being a child in the household and hearing the very direct "I'm sorry," right? In terms of okay, Mama Meg just came out.
Yeah, I get really riled up about it because it's really important. It is important. But yeah, I say it with all the love in the world. And I don't mean this as judgment, because we all do it all the time because we're human beings. But yeah, don't allow yourself to. Just notice it, recognize, write it down, just be like, oh, I see you. Not today, moving on. Tim, did you want to say something?
Just a bit of perspective. I wanted to ask Ruth a question. And the question is, how long did it take you to ask that first person to join your mastermind? Because how often, and I've done it, I cracked through it on Monday, where for 2 weeks I sat on these names of people that could have been prospective clients from my calls last year, but I never phoned them. I was doing the easy thing, send them a WhatsApp. And on Monday, I got frustrated with myself because it builds anxiety when it sits. You know you need to do it. You know that the quickest way to find out, are they worth it or not, is phone them. And so I did. There was only 5 names. I phoned all 5 on Monday. And I've crossed all of them off, and suddenly it was like, okay, good, done. But it's that, I know I need to do this. I need to speak to them. I've got to get it out. And then you find something else to do. But it sits. Scott's going, yeah. So Ruth, what was it what was it like, that first call of that first person that you invited? What did that feel like? Muted.
Was that question to me? Awesome. So it was very unexpected. I was having a one-to-one with somebody and she was like, let's do a muddy dog walk. And I was like, sure. So I was sliding around the forest in the mud with her 4 dogs. And she asked to join a different mastermind that I was running. And I was like, well, you can't. There's one of your competitors is in it. And you've got levels of competitor, but they're in the same sector. And she was like, oh, I don't think anyone had ever said no to her before. And she was like, oh, well, would you set one up? And then honestly, it took 9 months to come together. But interestingly enough, once I had that first person in theory, she was meant to introduce me to people and she kind of didn't. But we had the hit list and I just connected with people on LinkedIn and said, you know, Siobhan's mentioned your name, love to have a coffee. One of them ended up having dinner, ended up there for like 3.5 hours. And I was just literally find out all about them. And then I was like, look, there's this thing starting. The level is, it's an exceptional level of person. I think you belong in that group. Like, would you like to be part of it? And generally everyone said yes. And I think because I was like, it's, you know, it's elite, it's happening. They all knew the other people or they'd heard of them. And I think I was just super confident in it. Don't get me wrong, I was shitting myself. But yeah, but I think it goes alongside like people know me. Like I've built my brand, I've built my, like I look very popular on LinkedIn. So most people now know who I am. So I think if you can build your brand like that and people are like, oh, this, what this person's doing is quite exciting, then when you invite them, even if they hadn't considered working with you before, they're more likely to say yes, if that makes sense. Did that answer your question? And
Yes, it
actually,
did.
most
And-
people
and-
said yes within 30 minutes. So when I'm hearing, I'm sorry, this is not my place to coach, but I'm gonna, can I just observe something, Meg?
Yeah, of course.
I hope that was a yes and not a no. So what I was hearing on your call earlier is somebody was like, right, I'm ready to buy from you. And you're like, yeah, let's talk on Thursday. And actually by Thursday, they might have talked themselves out of it. So you need to hear that and be like, awesome, let me just delay my next call and I'll talk you through how this works. Because you didn't, I'm not saying they wouldn't have continued to work with you, but you could have lost that sale. Do you know what I mean? You could have lost that client. And I've done it. I've done it literally this month. Like one of my longest term clients has just gone and she came out of a mastermind with me because hers finished and she was going to go into a different one. And I didn't lock it down. And she's just gone into somebody else's program. I'm sure they're great. And I love her. I'm totally like, if that works for her, awesome. But if I'd locked it down earlier, I think she'd be on a different mastermind that I'm running. So yeah, I think sometimes like most people who end up working with me in my experience will say yes within half an hour. And anyone who wants to have another call is probably not going to say yes. They may eventually, but it may take them years. If that makes sense.
Cool. Thank you for that. Thanks, Ruth.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. I'm going to get my lunch out the microwave now.
That's a really good point. And something that is good to know is because we're at your different stages of your journey, and Ruth's been building a brand and a community, so it doesn't feel like a sales thing. Does that make sense? So the conversation is just a kind of like, hey, I have this cool thing and there's other people doing it and you're all in the same. It's like a social proof, exclusivity plus trusted familiar brand thing. So they're all like, yes, and I feel special. So translating that into different stages of business, when you're building your brand equity and trust and your know, like, and trust and your relationships with people, you can still have the same kind of strategy. You don't have to take 4 years to do it. You can still have that same strategy of like, I've handpicked 7 people that I would really like to work with. Or you can even like send a message out on LinkedIn, and this is for anyone, being like, I'm looking for 10 people who would like XYZ, and then just be really specific on the results. The more specific you are on the results they get, the wider you can be in your targeting. So you can do it both ways. You can be really specific on the person, be like, I'm looking for I don't know, stay-at-home mums of kids who play golf, or you can be really broad on the targeting and be like, I'm looking for people who want this very specific result in their life or business. You can do either. It's fine. So when you're like really specific on, I'm looking for people who want X, Y, Z, and you're very clear on the result, you can send that out to honestly thousands of people and get them to send people to you. You see? But it's still exclusive. It's like, I'm looking for this exclusive group. And obviously one-to-one, you'll have a capped number of one-to-one clients, 5, 4 or 5 or 10 or however many you choose. So its strategy does work if it's not a group setting. It's that exclusivity, it's the premium positioning as well. It's the like, who am I in a room with vibe that you give off. And people pay for that. That's what pricing is, part of your marketing strategy. Positioning is, pricing and positioning is so important. If you underprice yourself so much, it can devalue sometimes the perception of your value, like it can do. Sometimes, like, I don't think it's always the case, but pricing differentiates you from other offers. If you're with everybody else in the middle, the price, it's not in like it, you kind of get mixed in the middle of where everyone else is pricing. Does that make sense? Because you're looking at what everyone else is pricing at, and then you're choosing something in the middle, which is fine because we all just pick a number from thin air. Let's be honest, when we start, we're just like, that'll do. And then we choose that and we're like, oh, well, that didn't work, or that did work. It's got nothing to do with the price, it's just us. But yes, thank you very much. Sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent, but that's really helpful, Ruth. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? How are we feeling about the challenge? What's been challenging this week in getting the stuff done? Any thoughts come up that you've been like, oh, well, that sucks? Anything you've noticed?
I'm gonna echo something that Tim brought up in his, where there's little things that I know I need to do to advance my ball, right? And that I've hit that procrastination wall where I look at it and I'm like, why the hell am I not doing this? I know I got to do it. Why the hell am I not doing this, right? And I know that that's all internal in terms of there's a barrier, there's a block, there's a doubt, there's a fear, there's something that you just got to push back through and do the reps. But I just wanted to say, Tim, I feel you. I feel you in terms of that wall does happen. It is real and it is spectacular. I'll put it that way.
And the only way is through. Over. As they say, the obstacle is the way. So if next time you have a perceived barrier or something in your mind that seems like a wall, it's there for a reason. You have to get the skill to go over the wall to get to the other side of the wall. That was part of the path. So it's never like, how do I shortcut the wall? No, you have to learn how to scale the wall or go around it or to make the door or like just bust your head through it. That's what I normally do. But you have to grow the skill.
I'm not going to try to bust my head, but amen in terms of getting through the obstacle. I'll find another way besides busting my head.
Yes, a smarter way. But yeah, you learning the skill that removes the wall is the skill that you needed to get to the goal. Does that make sense?
Correct.
So all this hardship and struggle and internal, like, I don't know what the word is, arguing. It's arguing with yourself, basically, isn't it? When you say you're going to do a thing and then you're like, do I want to do the thing? No. And like you have this dialogue internally. That's all part of it. You getting on side with you is part of the process of this. Does that make sense? So as soon as you're like lining up, you're not arguing with yourself anymore, then you have so much more energy to go do the things.
Yep.
So it's fine. Just keep doing it and just keep basically out action your doubt. because then the doubt is just left behind in the dust, being like, what? Oh, what happened? And you're over there getting stuff done and being like, yeah, that's not a thing anymore. So good. Yeah, really.
So something I've been struggling with is like, what am I actually selling at the moment? And you know, when, so I've got like lots of different programs, but actually my masterminds, they're fairly full. Or I don't know the right person for the gap. Like one of them has a gap, the other one does because someone had to start late, but it's probably going to end up one over. And I'm doing one-to-one, but I can't do much more of it. And my like flagship program, I don't know if I'm going to run again. And I have just started doing VIP days, but again, there's a limit to how much of those I can do. And I've literally, you know, when you're like, I'm not sure what I'm actually selling at the moment. And
I'm not selling anything right now.
yeah, which that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. Like, so this is where I always ask about the revenue goal, because if your revenue goal is like 80K for the year, for example, and you're on track with the current roster of clients and revenue to hit that, then maybe this year is a back-end processes and scaling year of like projects, improvement projects, growth projects for next year. Could be. Or maybe it's something else. It's totally up to you. But I always like to what's the word? I like to sell always, because you're always selling for next year anyway, now. If you see what I mean. So you could be just selling, like you don't have to have a specific offer that they can buy today, but you're always talking about it and saying, this is why it's great, this is why it's amazing, this is what we're doing. You're like already building the pipeline for end of this year into next year for the next round of whatever it is that you launch. It might be something new, it might be the same.
Yeah, and I that totally makes sense. And I'm also thinking, so the thing that's traditionally made me the most money, I think I'm going to wind up because it's a bit of a pain in the ass. And other stuff is overtaking that income wise. And it's not necessarily something, it's not like a problem that I'm having, but you know, when you have that mental struggle of, I put a lot in to build this thing, like sweat, blood and tears, maybe not blood, but like, do you know what I mean? Like it was a painful process to build it, and that emotional attachment, but also knowing that that will free me up to do a lot more. And it's my more sort of hard work clients that come into that program as well.
Yeah, you've evolved, you've grown as a business owner, we all do.
So it's good. It is okay to be like,
yeah, and it's got you here.
Yeah, but it also it
Sure.
impacts like, who do I need to be meeting? So where am I networking? What am I doing?
Yeah,
So
I would balance it against the time that you'll recoup from it, and where you're going to put that time into your scaling into your next year. And just think of it that way. Just be like, how many hours am I going to free up if I lose this offer? What's the revenue potential hit on my business? And how is that going to be filled, or does it need to be filled? So these are all questions you can just go through and see.
Yeah, I think I can roll them off into the mastermind and into a mastermind and keep the revenue the same. Maybe top up the mastermind with another couple of people, and have the revenue. It won't impact my revenue, but it will free up my time a lot. I think, yeah. But I'm also having
what
this.
happens when you're full and there's nowhere to go, and you're like, I'm full of clients and I kind of am doing really well, and there's no space. That's the perfect time to be like, great, this is when you should be raising your prices, genuinely. And I know we've had this chat for like 3 years.
I have not by loads, but like, yeah, I've gone up by like 10%.
Yeah. It's time to raise the prices because you're in demand, you're full. It's the perfect, you're such a good position.
Yeah, and to be fair, the first person I've invoiced as a return, not a returning, he had a month off, but like if he'd have gone straight, I'd have given him the same prices. But because he had a break, I was like, these are my new prices, even though it was like a 30-day break. And yeah, he didn't even flinch. He was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Sometimes you just need to have someone be like, that's okay.
Yeah, it's definitely okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone so much. I'll see you next week. Any questions, thoughts, please comment, please message me. Rock on, doing such a good job. Thank you. Bye. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.